Good afternoon, everyone. This is David Cerns from Haley Marketing, and welcome to today's special Lunch with Haley event. So, as the title suggests, we're here to talk about the recent announcement from Indeed about the loss of organic job listings on their site effective January 7th. So for those of you who were with us at Staffing World, you probably heard about the announcement, which was the final day of the conference. And according to the Indeed.com blog, the exact quote was, "Jobs sent to Indeed sites in the US and Canada from recruitment-based companies will no longer be eligible for inclusion in organic search results. They will, however, continue to be eligible for promotion as sponsored jobs." Now, in plain English, you guys know what that means. We're not going to get any more freebies from Indeed. And the challenge we're going to face is, what do we do about it? Now, a lot of staffing companies had already had their free job posts removed from Indeed's organic listings years ago. Some companies that may have started after 2012 never got the benefit of free traffic from Indeed. But we have a lot of clients who rely on the traffic Indeed sends to fill their job openings. And so what we're going to talk about today are strategies to deal with this loss of traffic. But first, I know a lot of people, I've been reading ASA Central, and a lot of people don't exactly feel a sense of thanks to Indeed for making this decision. But really, Indeed has never, ever had any obligation to post jobs on their website at no cost. And the fact that they've given the industry more than 15 years of free job listings is really something that we should say thank you for. Collectively, our industry has made tens of millions of dollars thanks to the traffic that Indeed has provided. But what's next? If your business is dependent on free posts on Indeed, what do you do on January 7th? And really, January 7th is too late. If you're not starting to work on new strategies right now, you are going to be in a very deep hole come the beginning part of the new year. And so that's what today's session is really all about, is figuring out, number one, what's the impact of this loss? And number two, what are the strategies for dealing with it? Now, on screen now, you see some of the ideas for assessing your impact. And the first question you need to ask is, do we have data? Do we have analytics that show us how much traffic are you currently getting from Indeed? What percentage of your candidates come from there? What percentage of the people who are applying to your jobs come from there? Probably most importantly, what percentage of the people you're placing are coming from Indeed? And so you want to look for an analytics tool, if you don't already have one, that will show you total applies for each individual job, the sources of talent, where people are coming from, which career sites, whether it's coming from social media, search engine optimization, where the actual applications are coming from, and then your cost. What's my cost per application? What's my cost based on the job site? And how are the jobs performing, so I can make decisions if I'm going to have to start investing in paid advertising, which jobs to spend money on and which jobs I shouldn't. Now on screen you see a couple of pictures that are actually taken from the My Haley system. So for anybody on today's webinar who uses Haley Marketing's job board software, you already have access to a lot of these analytics. If you log into My Haley and you go to your job board dashboards, you'll see reports just like you see on screen that enable you to see the number of jobs, your job emails that you're doing, the applications you're receiving, and all of your sources. You can also drill into either the Manage Jobs section or the Applications section to view where traffic is coming from and how each job is performing. Now, if you're not using our job board software, there are other solutions. Recruitix is a partner of ours, and they provide a free analytics tool that you can have them integrate with your website so you can track where traffic is coming from. And then we also are a partner with a software company called Appcast that we can work with you to set up measuring the performance of your jobs on their software. Now that one's not free. Appcast will charge you approximately 5% of what you're spending in order to collect that data. But once you've collected the data, it is a programmatic software management tool, which we'll talk more about later, that can allow you to better manage where you put your advertising dollars. But step one is you have to know what's going to happen on January 7th when this is turned off. And we actually have been hearing from clients that Indeed isn't waiting until January 7th, and the removal of staffing companies and recruiting firms and RPO companies from organic listings has already started. But once you've assessed the impact, then you have to look at what are our options. And the knee-jerk reaction is, well, then I just need to spend more money, or I need to get more free distribution. And really, there's a lot more that you can do than just those couple of things. We are going to take a look today at strategies for job advertising, what you can do to replace free with paid, and how to minimize the cost of getting traffic to your jobs. Then there's the career site you have and leveraging your ATS. And we find that almost all staffing companies have room for improvement when it comes to really mining the candidate data out of their ATS, and then particularly in eliminating fall off on their website, so that people who visit your website, just job seekers who visit your website, become real job candidates who fill out the apply form. The amount of leakage, people slipping through the website without applying, can be 90% plus on a lot of staffing company websites, and we're going to look at some strategies to deal with that. Then there's social media. Do you have a strategy for social recruiting? And in today's webinar, we will go through how to, at a high level, craft your social recruiting strategy. Also, search engines. There's both SEO, search engine optimization, ways to make more people find your website. And then there's search engine marketing or performance marketing, using paid advertising on search engines to go after people looking for specific types of jobs, looking for answers to specific types of questions, maybe even looking for other staffing companies. Next on our list, we'll be looking at employment branding and the things that you can do to be a brand that's people looking for work know about, have a favorable impression of, and to be an organization that is positioned in your market or in the industry you serve as one that really is there to help people find the best possible jobs, the best possible career advancement opportunities. We can also look at the candidate experience, which is sort of a subset of employment branding. Are you creating an experience that's so awesome, so memorable that people have to tell others, that your word of mouth channel fills most of your open positions? And we're going to look at some strategies, some software that you can use to enhance the experience you deliver to your temporary workers and to your direct hire candidates. And lastly, a lot of this is just going to be about how do you get more creative. Again, Indeed's been giving our industry tons of benefit with free traffic. Well, we now have to get really creative as to find ways to increase our own visibility, our own brand, our own awareness of the jobs we're trying to fill, to attract more candidates to our companies. Okay, so we're going to go through each of those 7 strategies one at a time. There's going to be a lot of stuff to cover, so I will apologize in advance. The odds of us running over our hour are pretty good, but I don't want to shortcut these recommendations. I really wanted to give everybody on the webinar an opportunity to get lots and lots of ideas that you can take back to your organizations to brainstorm and put together an action plan for your business. So first option is pay to play. If Indeed is producing the majority of your traffic and you're really happy with the quality of candidates you're getting and you're making placements, well, it may be time to talk to Indeed about what it costs to replicate that traffic. And I've heard some companies who have gotten quotes already, and they're being told that you need to spend about $200 per job over the course of a month. So if you had 15 jobs, that would be $3,000 a month that you'd have to spend to maintain your traffic. That may or may not be accurate, and what you're going to want to do is figure out which jobs, by looking at your analytics, do we really need to spend money on. Some of your jobs are going to be easy to fill. You don't really need to spend any money on those jobs. Some of the jobs are really hard and you're going to absolutely need to make investments. And you want to know which jobs are getting applicants, which are not. And then Indeed can tell you, hey, here's your baseline cost to stay where you are. And then you can set a trial budget that you will use to say, can we drive traffic to our hard to fill jobs? And then if we're getting good results, up that spend. It's also about knowing which jobs need to be sponsored. As I mentioned, it's not going to be all of them. So you're going to want to be on a regular basis looking job by job in each market where you have an office to figure out which jobs require paid advertising, which jobs do not. You'll then develop a test plan, picking the jobs, picking the geographic markets, and determining how do we spend money? How much will we allocate to our test? And you're probably going to want to run a test over several months. And then how will we set strategies for bidding? How much should we pay per job? And the people at Indeed can help you figure out, as a starting point, a good cost per click to bid on. But you're going to want to experiment to see how much do you have to bid to get response. And when I wrote here test plan, it really is about planning things that you can test, like where you post, how often you post, how much you spend, total spend, and tracking your results so that you are able to determine where to continue to make investment. And that's what a good recruitment marketing strategy is about, continually testing and reinvesting. So option one, then the smartest option may simply be pay to play, get your data, get the numbers from Indeed, and then figure out how you will build your own test plan. Last but not least, try to do everything possible to avoid long-term contracts. Now, a lot of the folks who work in the job boards and the job aggregators, they want you to sign one-year contracts, and that's fine as long as you have the ability to get an out when you need it. You want the ability to flex your spend up and down based on the seasonality of your own staffing business, based on the types of positions you're needing to fill, based on the cost of advertising at different points in the year. Like right now, it is more competitive to hire holiday seasonal workers. So you're going to have to spend more to get those people. But come January, the cost per click on those is going to plummet. So I don't want a long-term contract that locks me into a fixed monthly bid that I can't make adjustments to. I want a contract that might lock in my cost per click pricing, much as I can, because I'm going to need to adjust that based on competition. Or I might lock in the cost of my job slots, but I want the ability to get out of that contract if I need to. All right, second strategy. Let's try other places to advertise jobs. Let's expand our job advertising. First, let's look at the big job boards: ZipRecruiter, CareerBuilder, Monster, Glassdoor, Dice. Depending on the kinds of people you place, different boards are going to work differently for you. If you've been watching the discussions in ASA Central, then you probably have seen there was a question just this morning on ZipRecruiter. And in some markets, people are killing it with Zip. In other markets, totally not worth the investment. You're going to have to develop test budgets and try things out on the big boards. But that's not the only place to expand your advertising. You also want to look at social media. LinkedIn, Facebook, going to be the two primary places to test paid and free advertising. You can put your jobs on Facebook at no cost. So you can use Facebook jobs to advertise any position. I will tell you that we're finding for light industrial, for clerical, for healthcare, it can work very well. Again, it's going to vary market by market. However, you're going to need a paid promotional strategy, not just put the jobs on there for free, to get the jobs in front of the right people. We haven't seen a lot of response yet from higher level, more professional jobs, IT, accounting and finance, managerial, professional on Facebook yet, but Facebook's made a huge commitment to their jobs capabilities, and we expect more and more of that to grow. So I would continually test Facebook jobs. With LinkedIn, it's expensive, but if you're doing professional recruiting, you're going to want to test it. Again, we have some clients they have LinkedIn job slots, they have LinkedIn Recruiter, they're testing the paid tools because for some of our clients, it's working really well, and others will say it's not worth the money. I was watching a discussion on LinkedIn today because LinkedIn had an ad for themselves on LinkedIn, and most of the people responding were ripping LinkedIn apart because what they had spent wasn't worth the money. I'd argue that they probably just didn't have the right recruiting strategy. They didn't budget appropriately. You have to match the audience of the social network to your jobs, and you have to spend enough to get response. But one of the key things as you're evaluating your job advertising is to know what percentage of our revenue should we spend on job advertising. So if I'm going to have a $10,000 direct hire placement fee, well, would I spend 50% of that on job advertising? Probably not. But 1%, 2%, I should know what my budget is that I can allocate to that spend so that I can determine, does it make sense to post on a specific site? All right, I had a question come in that I want to stop right now and go over because it's a really important one. So when Indeed says not part of our organic search, what does that mean? Can you still post free and not be part of organic search results? So on Indeed, when somebody does a search, you see two types of results. You see results that say sponsored, promoted. I forgot the exact wording that Indeed has on their site, but those are going to be the first response, first jobs people see. Then after that comes jobs that are just being pulled onto Indeed's website from other sources. Those are the organic. So at Haley Marketing Group, we send a feed of 70,000 jobs to Indeed multiple times every day. So historically, they've taken our feed and they pull that all onto their website. And nobody pays to be in that feed. It's just if you're using our software, we send it out to Indeed and a lot of other aggregators, and it's no cost. But we can't control what the aggregators do. So Indeed has said for the years past, yeah, we'll take your feed and we'll put all those jobs on our site. They're just going to be below people who are paying to promote their jobs or sponsor them. But what Indeed is now saying is they won't show it up at all from our feed, or even if your recruiters went in and set up their own account on Indeed and tried to post, if they figure out that account is from someone who's in staffing, recruiting, or anybody in the third-party recruiting industry, they're going to disallow any posts from those accounts. And I know we have a number of clients where recruiters go set up their own employer accounts and direct post, and they've done it in the past to try to get around getting jobs on Indeed. Get ready, Indeed's going to take that away from you. The next thing to look at are wholesale job aggregators. So what a lot of people don't realize is Indeed gets traffic to your jobs in many different ways. They do it through search engine optimization, and they do it through buying traffic from other sites. So there are companies that are wholesale job aggregators that are now selling directly to the end user. So for example, we've partnered with Nuvu, Upward, and Adzuna. Those are three different aggregators that have been more on the wholesale level that are now offering to do direct sales to you, the staffing company, to take your jobs. And usually they can provide candidates at a lower cost per click than the big job boards because they don't have as much of an advertising cost. Then there are niche job sites specifically that cater to different skill disciplines like design, engineering, finance, healthcare, IT, sales, truck drivers. If you can name a skill discipline, then you can find a job board that exists to support that skill discipline. You just want to go do a Google search type in the skill discipline, then the word jobs, and look through the search results. You will find niche job boards. And very often those boards can be really low cost to test out. If you're a regionally focused staffing company and you're only recruiting for your local market, those boards may or may not be a match because they may not have a lot of candidates searching from your market. But if you're searching nationally for nurses or IT professionals, absolutely worth looking at some of those niche job sites. And again, testing them. Then there are talent community websites, places like FlexJobs, Upwork, Snagajob, GitHub, and I crossed over there to gig economy sites, but you're looking for sites that appeal to individuals based on their skills, but they're not just about careers. They're about other content, and GitHub's one of my favorites. So GitHub is a website, for those of you who don't know it, for IT professionals, where those IT professionals can share their work. They can upload samples of their code. Some people use GitHub as a way to build a professional portfolio for themselves as a developer. Other people use it as a collaborative network, a community, to get help debugging, fixing, testing, and expanding their software. But GitHub makes its money through its job board. So their employers have the ability to go to that site and post jobs, much more like the traditional way you did with Monster Career Builder, where I purchase a duration-based job slot and I can put it on GitHub. Well, there are lots of talent communities out there that take job posts, and those are ideal places to recruit from if you recruit nationally for certain skill disciplines. And then there are other ways to do advertising that have nothing to do with job posts, through texting, through email. Again, there are probably not as many sites you're going to see directly, but when you work with some of the aggregator sites, the way they build traffic is they have people who get job alerts. I believe for ZipRecruiter, their number one source of candidates are all the emails they send out. So you want to look when you're talking to a job board partner at what strategies do they have to get candidates in? Are they using texting? Are they using email? Because depending on the tools they're using, they may give you a reach that you would not have on your own. And when we get to programmatic advertising, a couple of the programmatic players have their own private networks of job distribution. And some of the distribution is done to job sites. Some of it's done via texting and email. And you want to see if you can test out some of those programmatic distribution channels to see what kind of a response they'll draw for you. Speaking of programmatic, let's talk about it. For those of you who may not be familiar with it, by definition, programmatic job advertising, it's technology, it's software, and it uses a combination of gathering data on how people apply for jobs, analytics, evaluating that data, and then algorithmic decision engines, which is a fancy way of saying the software follows rules to do things. What it does, it automates buying of job posts and job ad placements. So what it lets you do is to better control how much you spend per click, how much you spend per application, and how much you total spend per job, so you can get a greater ROI on your job advertising spend. Our friends at Appcast will tell you that simply adding rules to how you buy advertising will get you about 30% more ROI right away. And that's why we partner with them, so that we can take your jobs, measure the performance through the Appcast software, and then start setting those rules to get you a higher return on investment. I had a request before I move on if I could repeat the names of some of the wholesale job aggregators. So 3 that we partner with: Neuvoo, Neuvoo, Upward.net, and Adzuna. And then the 4th I have on the list, we haven't partnered with them yet, is Lensa. But they're names you've probably never heard of. They're lesser known job boards, although they're making a push into the staffing industry, so you're going to see the names more, and you're going to probably be hearing from their salespeople because all their salespeople are salivating because of this announcement by Indeed. All right, so the benefit of programmatic, number one, as I mentioned, let's drive down the cost. And the target is get down the cost per application 30% lower, or spend the same amount to get more applications for what you're spending. And then it's also to have a stop button. This is my favorite part of the definition, is I want the ability to turn off what I'm spending when I have enough applications for a job. And if you're dealing directly with most of the job boards, they don't have this. You have a stop button that says stop spending money when I've spent my budget for the month, not stop when the job is filled. And programmatic allows us to regulate applications job by job. And let's look at a couple of examples. So let's assume you posted 2 different jobs. For the first job, you need 20 applications, and you've determined through your analysis of your data, your target bid is going to be $10 per application. Next job's harder to fill, and I want 20 applications, same as the first, but it's going to be $20 per application. So what programmatic does for you is it uses the software to help evaluate what your costs are and then help you achieve your cost per application goal. Now, right now, you may be sitting there thinking, I don't know what my target cost per application is. I don't even know I know we spend $3,000 a month, but I don't know what my cost per applicant is, or my cost per completed application. That's what the software helps you do in the beginning, is to evaluate this so you can build that baseline and then determine what are we really spending per application and how many applications do we need to fill a job, which really leads us to our second example. How do we eliminate that wasted spend? This is the stop button. So let's say you have 4 jobs this time, and you're just advertising, and the easy to fill jobs get lots of candidates. And you need 5 in this example, but you got 8 for job A. And you need 5 for job B, but but you got 6. And job C and D, you didn't get enough to fill the order. You only got 2 for C and nothing for D. So what programmatic does is it says, let's set a line where we don't need any more candidates. And let's stop spending money once we hit that line. And the idea is that now once A gets 5 candidates, shut off the spend. Refocus it on B, C, and D. And then once B hits 5, shut off the spend, focus it on C and D. And we may not get all the candidates we need for a harder to fill job, but you can see in the example here, C went from 2 to 4 and D went from 0 to 2 because we eliminated the wasted spend, and the 4 additional candidates we got for A and B that we didn't need are now candidates we got for C and D. Okay, and somebody else has asked a question before I move on. Do you mean irrelevant applicants or any applicants? Now, when you're using job advertising, you're talking about any applicants. They're counting every response. They don't have a way to say this is a quality response, although some will do a closed loop if your applicant tracking system allows them to actually track to the point of a placement being made. Then you can evaluate the quality of the candidates as well as the quantity, but mostly what we're looking at here is quantity. And right now when you're investing with Indeed or ZipRecruiter, they're focused on quantity of applicants you're getting for your monthly spend, and then you look at quality by looking at how the candidates you're placing, where they came from. I will tell you in my experience, the majority of staffing companies aren't doing that analysis. The minority who are really doing it know most intelligently where to spend their job advertising dollars. And this is really, this what you see on screen here is easy to understand, because if you think about it, the jobs that are easy to fill are going to get more people clicking on them, which sucks up your budget. And if there's no controls, the budget is gone before there's anything left for the other jobs. Okay, and I love all the questions. Another question came in regarding the programmatic technology. Are there vendors that evaluate and manage this, or is it a Haley service? Brian, the answer is both. We partner with companies that provide the technology. You can buy it yourself from Recruitix. You can buy it yourself from Appcast. You can buy it yourself from Job AdX and several others. The 3 that I mentioned are 3 that we're working with. For companies that want to do it on their own, Recruitix will sell their software to you. It's a monthly fee for the software plus 1% of your spend. Job AdX is just 1% of your spend. And Job AdX, I believe, is 10% of your spend, and Appcast is a percentage of your spend. And Matt, if you're listening, and you may correct me on Job AdX, I may have their revenue model wrong. But each one has a fee. We get into the service because we know it's hard to manage, and so we will help clients to manage it. We also charge a fee for managing it, and the goal is by having us do it, it's going to be cheaper than you doing it and get you that ROI. All right. The next thing is to do better job post targeting. And again, this is something not all of the programmatic tools can do. Job AdX, this is one of their strengths. So software that will analyze the job descriptions you write, the job titles, the geographic locations, and your past performance to determine things like what should our cost per application be, and give you an estimate of what you should be spending before you post. During your posting, make real-time adjustments to where your job shows up and how much you're bidding. And let's say you might be bidding, you're expecting to bid up to 30 cents a click. Well, Job AdX might say, we're going to bid between 20 and 30 cents. We'll start at 21 cents, and then we'll ratchet up until we start getting clicks. And what they find is very often you'll get the clicks well before your maximum bid threshold, and they will reduce your cost per click by about 20% just because of how they're automatically monitoring and measuring the performance of the clicks. Not all the programmatic tools do that. And then after posting, all the software can give you really good data so that you're then making better decisions month after month after month, so that over time you're getting even better performance out of your advertising dollars. It is a lot of work, but there's a ton of value in doing this. And especially if you're spending tens of thousands, or in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars on job advertising, it's essential to do this kind of management. What we want the programmatic all to do eventually is do it for us. Figure out where are the best sites to post your jobs. They're getting there. They're not all there yet. As their intelligence, their AI gets better, I think you'll see more and more third-party tools that do things that even with human labor we couldn't do in-house. All right, that was all strategy number 1. Oh boy, and we're almost a half hour in, and we got 6 strategies to go. So let's jump into number 2, optimizing your career site and ATS. All right, so the first thing is to plug the leaks in your company website. So first leak is the entry page. Where does someone come into your site? Do they come in on the homepage? Do they come in on a job? Do they come in on a blog post? Do they come in because you had a page referenced on somebody else's website, so they started your job seekers page? Maybe they came in a contact us page. You want to look at your entry pages, and you look into Google Analytics for determining where people enter your website. There's actually a place, and you can look at traffic and you can see entry pages. And I want to see when people come into my entry page, what happens next? Where do they go? And if the page they go to next is not getting them closer to applying to a job, then I need to make adjustments to my entry pages to drive them further into my website. And that's with CTAs, or calls to action. I want to make sure my entry pages have really well-worded, appropriate calls to action to get people to do things. That do thing is driving the next step, which might be applying for a job, might be searching for a job, might be getting a job agent, might be signing up for a newsletter. It's not always about just getting somebody immediately to apply to a job. It's about getting them to engage with your company so that you can then continue to nurture the relationship and bring them back and then get them applying to the jobs. You also want to look at conversions. How well is the site getting people to take action? Are my forms converting? Is the site as a whole converting? You want to look at all of the conversion points and say, when people start on a form, do they finish it? And if we're not getting a high percentage from start to end, how do we change the form? And usually the biggest culprit of bad conversion is the job application itself, which may be killing your response rates. But we'll talk more about that in just a second. Then there's ways to do instant engagement. The majority of people coming to your website, they're not ready to apply for a job. So what do we do right away to engage them? Well, this is where chatbots come into play, or live chat. So if the candidate isn't ready to apply, but they have questions, do you have tools in place so they can engage you? Is there a chatbot available 24/7 on desktop and mobile that they can interact with to get basic questions answered? Can they get into a live chat session with the recruiter working on a specific job because they have questions about that job before they apply? We want to have those tools in place so more people who are not ready to apply will take the next step to engage with your team, and at minimum, you're collecting more contact information so that you can follow up. Related to that, and as I mentioned it once already, is mobile. Can they take action on mobile? Every web development company, Haley Marketing Group, every one of the companies like us has been saying for years and years and years, you have to be optimized for mobile. Well, now it's between 80 and 90% of your job seekers' first visit with your website is going to be on mobile. So go to your own website on your phone and try to apply for a job. Try to find a job. Can you do it? Is the experience seamless? Is it easy? Are there multiple ways to apply? The majority of the time, despite this advice being at least 6 years old, it's still not easy to apply to a job for a staffing company on mobile. And if you don't have an optimal mobile candidate experience, you are going to be losing dozens, hundreds, thousands, and in some cases tens of thousands of candidates because of a bad mobile experience. And then you need ways to follow up. You may have heard me talk about on past Lunch with Haley events the analysis we've done of staffing company Google Analytics. And one of the aha moments we had is when we saw that a candidate who comes back to your website a second time is twice as likely to apply to a job as a first-time visitor. Yet we spend obscene amounts of money getting people to come there the first time to look at the jobs, and most companies spend next to nothing on follow-up. And that follow-up can be email marketing. It can be marketing automation that has a series of communications via email and text to nurture relationships with somebody who engaged with you on your website. Or it can be remarketing, where maybe I don't know anything about this individual, but I put a tracking cookie on their phone or on their computer. So now everywhere they go around the internet, I'm reinforcing our company's value proposition. I'm letting them know about the jobs we're trying to fill so that I can bring them back to our website. Once you get people to the jobs page, it starts with having great jobs. I've seen a couple of examples in the past week of companies that I know have dozens of jobs or hundreds of jobs, yet on their website, there's a handful there. I saw one example. yesterday, and I won't name the company, but the job information that was entered was an internal description for their recruiters, not the external description for the candidates. And that was unusable. And in fact, they shared information they wouldn't want to share. But you want to make sure you're focusing on your absolute best jobs on your career site. And you also want to make sure you're writing great job posts, good headlines or job titles, that your intro to the job post are selling propositions, not a list of duties, responsibilities, and your requirements. A job post is a job advertisement, and you have to write it like an advertisement to intrigue the person reading it, to sell them, to make them want to work for you, want to work for your client. You also have to make sure that on your website, jobs are easy to find. Is it in your main navigation? Are there calls to action right on the front page of your website, the home page, saying search our jobs, apply now? Here's some of our featured jobs or hot jobs. We want to make it super easy for a candidate to find jobs no matter how they come in to the website. And then we want it easy to search jobs. And you can see an example on screen. Can I search with keywords, location, industry? Can I do a radius search? Can I search by employment type? I just want to make it super simple for people to find the jobs they want when they hit my website. And the two examples you see here are one's desktop, one's mobile. It's got to be super easy regardless of platform. And that takes us to the most important piece of your career site, your application. Is it super easy to apply? And by that I mean, are there lots of different ways people can apply? And you see on screen here an example that's sort of an extreme example. If you went to our website and we had every single option turned on for one-click applies, you can actually apply online with a form, one-click apply with Indeed, one-click apply with Monster, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, even Amazon and Instagram can be used because we can get data out of these third-party sites that simplify filling out a form. And on desktop, that might not be a big deal, but on mobile, these one-click apply options make applying possible, when often it's not. Even when you go to the response form, you want something that's really easy to fill in. As few forms as you need to get the candidate's information. And I was just looking at an example of a client of ours. They just switched to an application form from their ATS. It's nicely designed. The form that they go to is short, sort of like the one you see on screen here, but one of the required fields on the first screen was social security number. Okay, that's terrible. You do not want to ask social security number at all in the application process, and certainly not on screen one. So if you let's say you can't take a short application like this, you need to have a long form. What you can do is break it into multiple steps. Step one, give me the basic information. Name, email address might be sufficient, or name, email address, resume. Step two, then we'll ask you to fill out the rest of the application. So it will be longer form, but if we don't get it, if they abandon it, we've got enough to follow up. Another question that came in, this was specific to somebody using our job board software. Do you have to use the Haley application to take advantage of the quick apply buttons? For companies on today's webinar that are using our job board software, the quick apply buttons can all be turned on if you're using the Haley marketing application. If you're using a third-party ATS integration, it varies. So there are some integrations we do via APIs, and I apologize for getting technical, but with those integrations, we can use all the one-click applies. There are some integrations where we have to go to the application form of the ATS, and in which case most of those we can't use the one-click apply options. The easiest thing to check is to ask our success team what options are available to you. But it's not just about jobs on your website. We also have to think about giving people a reason to want to work with our company. Are we answering the question on our websites, why work for us? Why are we the best staffing company in the market to represent you as a talented individual? Have we designed the website so there are more things candidates can do than just apply for jobs? Are we maximizing opportunities for conversion? And I mentioned these earlier, but with apply to a job right away, apply with a resume but not to a job, opt in for a job alert, submit a referral, opt in for our newsletter. Think about all the reasons someone might
connect with you. Maybe they want to download content that you're offering. You want to do everything possible to get someone to take action so you can collect an email address so that you can then follow up, nurture a relationship, and drive those people back, because those second-time visitors are far more likely to apply. And then, are you doing everything possible to bring people back with your job alerts? Do you have blog posts and newsletters you're directly sharing with your candidates? Are you using remarketing to go after people on Facebook and on Instagram and everywhere they surf the web that's part of Google's advertising network? You absolutely want to be following up with your candidates using remarketing. And then your ATS. A lot of staffing companies don't fully leverage the gold that is in their ATS. So the simplest thing is, do we have our recruiters regularly going in, calling and emailing and re-engaging all the names in the ATS? Now that can get kind of overwhelming. So are we using texting, or are we using other programs? There are software products that will actually go through your ATS and use a chat bot to re-engage all of the candidates and try to get them to update their information. But at a minimum, we need an outreach program to go to all the people in the ATS, see who's still available in the job market, update our information. But another way to go after people in the ATS is to remarket to them. And I mentioned remarketing as a way to have your advertising follow people around after people visited your website. Well, you can also remarket to all of the candidates in your ATS by exporting a list of those email addresses of those candidates, going over to Facebook or going over to Google, and you can upload those lists into Facebook and Google, and it will do what's called a matched audience. And with matched audience marketing, what you're doing is it matches the accounts on Google, the accounts on Facebook to your list of emails, and will show ads that you create to that audience. It's really cost effective and a great way to re-engage talent, to bring them back when you don't have time to call the 50,000 names that are in your ATS. And that's the matched audience, PPC. Another one on there is to start an alumni network. Think about ways to re-engage all the people that you've ever worked with so that you don't have a relationship that exists for just the period that they're currently working for you, but a relationship that exists throughout their careers. And what we want to do is find reasons to stay in touch, reasons to ask for referrals, reasons to keep tabs in their career, because a lot of those candidates are either going to become future candidates you place again, referral sources for new candidates, or in many cases, they're going to become clients. So you want to think about the relationship you have with the candidates not as being for the period of 3 months when this person's on a job assignment, but a period of 30 years when they're in the workforce and we can be a partner to them in their career. And then specifically with referral programs, everybody on today's call can think about ways to make your programs better. So go look at the rewards you have and the rules for getting those rewards. Are the programs really rewarding? Are they motivating? I've seen programs where it's like, hey, we'll give you $15 after somebody you referred works 80 hours. The financial incentive isn't big enough, and then I have to wait a long time. I don't even know how to submit the referral to you. So you want rewards that are motivating. You want programs that are easy to follow, and then you want to ask people frequently, every touch point that you can, to submit referrals and keep them informed of the kind of positions you're trying to fill. If possible, you can even set up a system to vary your rewards based on the job. So if I've got a direct hire that's got a $25,000 fee, well, my referral bonus probably is a lot bigger than for a 2-week clerical temp assignment. And so there are tools, we have one of them, that can enable you to set referral bonuses based on the value of the job to your company. Then there are third-party referral management systems. We've talked to and working with a couple of them. There is Staffing Referrals and Prefer Hired that have programs to help actively manage and encourage referrals. And they both work very differently, but there are lots of ways to build stronger referral managements, because we know referrals are going to be the highest quality candidate, but the challenge we all have is getting more of those candidates. And to do that, we need a more engaging, through better rewards and better communication, better managed referral incentive system. And lastly, looking at creating more branded communication. So as you're talking to people through email, through texting, through even the phone, we want more ways to make sure we're reinforcing all the ways talent can engage with us. So email signatures, you see on screen here an example of Mercer Bradley's email signature on their 10th anniversary. Looking for an accounting career, find one here. This big graphic is something they added to email signatures, and they have a variety of different email signatures that recruiters can just select and drop onto all the emails that they're sending. Using social sharing images to promote jobs on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. So have a visual representation of the job opening, the employer, the ideal candidate for the position. Using your out of office assistant when you go to lunch, after hours. A lot of people don't turn those on off hours. Why not turn them on and use the autoresponders to do job advertising, to ask people referrals, to promote your website? Your on hold message. I had one today. A client put me on hold. They had music playing, deafeningly loud, but nothing about their company, nothing to tell me to go to their website, nothing to tell me about the 150 available jobs they have right now. Leverage all of these free touch points to do more to drive candidates back to your website. All right, and that takes us on to our third social sharing strategy, which is social recruiting. Now, first thing, a word of warning, social recruiting is not just posting jobs on social media. And I know most of you know that, but a lot of you may be doing it. And I've seen companies, I've actually seen third-party sources that talk about social recruiting as, we'll grab all your jobs and we'll put them on Facebook. Well, if you want to kill your followers, put all your jobs on Facebook. Now, social recruiting, it's about using social media to attract and nurture relationships with both active and passive job seekers. So let's drill into that for a second. Active job seekers, what do they want? Well, they want to know about jobs. They're looking for work. They do care about seeing your jobs on social media, but they also want to know about your company. Are you showing off pictures and sharing data that positions you as a great place to work and as somebody they can trust? Are there lots of reviews of your company that confirm you're a great place to work? Are people referring you in? Are your current temporaries and your alumni network, are they submitting referrals? And when we do things on social media visually, again, it can be about direct jobs, referrals, comments. You want your network actively promoting jobs, actively promoting you as a company. But passive is very different. Passive is, I have to think about how I would engage someone who's not looking for work. And that's something like 86% of the market right now. They're not looking for work. So if I'm going to engage them, it's not with a job ad that says now hiring. Instead, I have to think about what questions are they having? What pain points do they have? Why would they interact with our firm? And then how do I give them reasons to become active? And so examples here are, this graphic, demotivated at work, read this. But if you think about all the reasons somebody might look for a new job, I don't like my boss, I'm not appreciated, I'm not paid enough, I'm at a dead end, I've hit a glass ceiling. Those are all the things that you could turn into blog posts, into compelling visuals, into content for social media to pull people back into your website, then get them to your jobs. Or to get somebody who's unhappy in their job to cross the threshold and now become an active job seeker. Now, your social recruiting channels, we tend to all think of the big three: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I share content there, I share jobs there, I try to build my networks and get people to come back to me, and you're absolutely right. That's the first place to start with your social recruiting strategy. But let's not forget other social channels. So Instagram and Snapchat, not being that widely used by the staffing industry at this point. Difficult to use cost effectively, but we're seeing them grow because of the popularity, particularly Instagram, which is now bigger than Snapchat. And I believe that maybe the biggest social media with those of the younger part of the millennial generation. Sorry, I hate typecasting people, but teenagers to mid-20s, they are on Instagram. And they don't want to see job advertising at all, but they do want to follow interesting companies and see interesting brands and see things that make them laugh. They do want to follow companies that have a personality. And when they're investigating a company, they want to see that you're socially active and that you have a brand that they're interested in. And that has to be part of your passive candidate social recruiting, is to have a channel to engage that audience. Then there's YouTube. Do I have a plan for creating video? Video is the most consumed content. All of the social channels love video. YouTube is the #2 most searched search engine. And if any of you are like me with teenage and older kids, you've probably seen any kid who's a gamer sitting with an Xbox controller in 2 hands and their phone next to them, watching a YouTube video of somebody playing the game they're playing, or the one I don't understand at all, somebody playing a different game than the one they're playing at the same time. But people live on YouTube. And we need to get people to engage with our content, not just by advertising jobs, but by thinking about how do we provide meaningful education to a job seeker. Other strategies for YouTube can be to take some of your job posts, particularly the ones you do over and over again, make really compelling videos where you talk about the job. You may even do a walkthrough at a client's organization, show people what the job's going to be like. You put that on YouTube, and then you share it in your company blog. You share it on social media. Yes, it may be exposing who your client is to a competitor, but it's really giving the candidate a transparent look at who you represent and the kind of jobs you can provide, something that your competitors aren't showing them, and they want to work with companies that are transparent. Speaking of transparency, company review sites. You need a proactive strategy to get positive reviews. If you don't have one, get one. Because if you are less than 3 stars, that is reputation death. You need to make sure that on Google Reviews, Facebook, Indeed, Glassdoor, you are 3+ stars on all of those sites, and you want to constantly be building the number of reviews. So when that occasional negative one comes in from a disgruntled, unplaceable candidate, it's outweighed by the positives. Industry-specific websites, that's another one to take a look at. And can I advertise on those sites? Can I share content to sites that are in my industry so that we're seen as an authority in our industry, particularly for executive recruiters? This is a great recruiting strategy, is to be a branded expert on talent in a vertical market. And don't forget email and texting. We don't think of that as social media, but social is about communication. Email and texting are about communication. So if we think about how do we use email and texting to enhance relationships, not just always be selling jobs, but enhancing relationships by sharing content, by saying thank you to people, by reminding them about holidays and saying happy birthday and happy work anniversary, using all of the communication channels to build those relationships to bring people back. On social recruiting, at the top of the funnel, people are content seekers. They're not looking for jobs. They're looking for information. And you capture attention at this level with fun content, interesting, engaging videos or stories, or things that are useful, how-to, practical information. And what we're trying to do is convert those people to passive job seekers, give them an interest at looking at a job by showing, hey, there are better things out there. If you don't love your job, if you're not being paid enough, there are lots of opportunities. And as a staffing company, our job is to look at this stuff for you. That can convert them to active job seekers. And now we're selling our jobs and we're selling our company, and it's about our brand as an employer. And that drives them to the apply. So we want to think about social media as a conversion path. Social to website, to jobs, to apply. And we want to watch our conversion funnel so we're minimizing loss. So as many people as possible we get from social to website by having great content, great headlines, engaging pictures. Website to jobs with really good calls to actions. Jobs to apply with a really good application process. Also, another thing to think about on social recruiting is some of it you can do organically for free. So building company followers, having all of your team members in your organization build their networks, joining groups, and sharing your content with people who follow you. You want to get everybody in your company involved in building their social networks, sharing content, and then cross-liking, sharing, and commenting on one another's content, because that builds your reach of anything you share. But you're going to most likely, particularly if you have a Facebook strategy, have to pay to reach audiences. But this is the best way to do really targeted content sharing, to go after specific people by location, job title, and other demographics. Now, if we're advertising jobs, We can't use demographic criteria that could be discriminatory, but when we're sharing content, we can absolutely think about different audiences or personas that we want to reach, and then pay to target that audience with our content to maximize the people who see it, who engage with it, and then come back to our website. We can also look for a geographic reach, doing geo-targeted advertising of specific jobs or new opportunities. I've seen healthcare companies that do this, where one hospital is geo-targeting another hospital's nurses and going to show advertising saying, hey, come to work for us. We pay more, or we've got a sign-on bonus, or we've got better shifts available. So you can do this kind of paid reach to dramatically expand the number of people engaging with your social content. On to strategy number 4, search engine recruiting. With search engines, we're trying to think about SEO and PPC, paid advertising. With SEO, it's about making sure all of the jobs you have are optimized on your company domain with unique pages for every job. They're on your domain, your URL. They can be a subdomain, like you see the example here from our website, jobs.haleymarketing.com. The on-page SEO is automatically being done. So things like your URLs are optimized, your page titles are optimized, your headlines are optimized, you're repeating the job title in the post. You're doing things that search engines like, because not everybody's searching on Google where we've got Google for Jobs, but some people are on other search engines, and we want to maximize our probability of our jobs showing up by doing all these things correctly, and you want them all automatically done. And then you do want to think about Google for Jobs. So Google changed the game when they added Google for Jobs, and now you have to add structured data behind the scenes to appear in that little blue box that says Google for Jobs. So when I talk about structured data, what does that mean? Well, on screen now you see an example of Google's structured data testing tool. And what you do is you go to Google and you search for structured data testing. And then it'll pull up a web page that says enter a URL. And then you take the URL of one of your jobs and you paste it in there, and it will show you the box that you see in the bottom. On the left-hand side is the actual code of your website. On the right-hand side is all of the structured data that Google can read. And what you want to see is that Google can read all of your job content. There are no errors in what it's reading, and there's a minimal number of warnings. So this job from our website for a senior UI designer thankfully had no errors, no warnings. Google could read everything. And if you're looking for a user interface design job and you happen to live in Buffalo, New York, where we are, we're going to be the #1 result in that Google for Jobs box. You want to make sure that Google for Jobs optimization is also automatically happening with your jobs every time they're posted. And I see a lot of the ATS-based job boards. They may look good, but they're not on company domains, and they're not doing the Google for Jobs optimization. Then there's SEO for job seekers. And that's not about the jobs themselves. That's thinking about, how do I get someone who's looking for a job to find me, but when they're typing questions in that aren't just related to a job. So maybe they're looking for career advice or skill development, or they're interested in local community events. Maybe they're just typing in a personal problem they have and they want to read a touching story. It's about content. And what you want to develop is a really good content plan around the things that your candidates are interested in. So how do you figure out what they're interested in and how they use Google? Simple. Have your recruiter start asking them. What kinds of things are you searching for on Google besides just looking for jobs? Do you use it to look for events happening in our community? Do you ever look for career advice online? Do you look to find information on specific companies? The more you know about how your people that you place, how they behave online, the better you can develop content plans. And you can see an example on screen, day by day, thinking about what are we going to write about, what are we going to share, where are we going to share it, how are we going to share it, what formats, video, text, etc., to optimize people finding your content when they go to Google and they type in something for a search. Now, I see we're coming up already on 3 o'clock. Somebody did just ask the question, hey, I've got to run. Are these slides going to be available? And is this recording going to be available? And the answer to both is yes. Slides are already available at lunchwithhaley.com. And this entire session is being recorded. We'll go through to the end, and we will put the recording up on lunchwithhaley.com under Webinars on Demand once we finish today. Now, in terms of search engine marketing, the paid advertising, this is the other side of using search engines. This is using AdWords and other pay-per-click advertising. So you see 3 examples. AdWords remarketing matched audiences. We've actually talked about all of these already. So just to recap, AdWords is when someone is doing a search and you are buying the words they're searching for. Now, if you're picking a specific job title like travel nurse jobs that I've got an example of here, yeah, you can absolutely buy that and be right at the top of the page, but it's going to be really expensive because lots of other people are doing that. Now, maybe I want to get more specific. Travel nurse jobs in Rochester, New York. It's going to cost a little bit less because I got geographic specific. But just buying jobs may or may not be feasible because sites like Indeed have already bought hundreds of thousands of jobs, and you're competing with all of the job boards that are using AdWords to buy traffic. You can evaluate the costs of that type of AdWord campaign, but what I would suggest is think about other AdWords, not just jobs, but maybe the names of your competitors, maybe the names of companies followed by the word jobs, like ABC manufacturing jobs. You can buy those kinds of phrases. There would be little competition for them, so a low cost per click, and have your ads showing up. Then there's remarketing, which is making your advertisements show up on Google's display network after someone's visited your website. It's ridiculously low cost, like fractions of pennies per impression. But it allows you to have your ads follow people around, and you see a couple of examples on screen of what these ads can look like. They can be, fun ads designed for the passive job seeker working for a clown, find a better boss, or ones that are more motivational. Our success is determined by your success. Learn more. These are all jobs geared towards passive job seekers, and they can be done through remarketing or the matched audiences. Matched audience, again, is where you upload an email list and match that audience on Google, and it can be done on social media as well. But just in terms of search engines, I can do it on Google, and I can do it on Bing, and I can do it on Yahoo. But the reality is I'm only going to worry about Google for AdWords and these other types of PPC because that's the lion's share of the search traffic. Strategy 5, and they're going to go a little faster for the last few. Employment branding. So employment branding is about defining your value proposition. EVP stands for employment or employer value proposition. In other words, what are you offering to people that makes them want to work for you? Why are you a best place to work in your community, in the staffing industry, in your vertical market? You have to be a better option than every one of your competitors, or otherwise, why would people choose you? So we have to think about what's the value we're delivering to the candidate in terms of pay, benefits, intangible benefits, and then things like communication, the overall service experience. You need to define what are we going to be known for, and then you need to make sure that your processes match up to that EVP. It can't just be something you say. You also have to think about how do we tell our story in the most compelling ways possible, meaning it's one thing to say we're a great place to work. It's a different thing to illustrate it with awesome videos. And some people in the staffing industry, I've seen this on Instagram, do a wonderful job of conveying their EVP through really fun, engaging pictures or stories, sequence of pictures and videos that they share on Instagram and Facebook. Some will do it on their website in the About Us section. But unfortunately, all too often, the content is dry, corporate, me too. So the companies aren't telling the story. Even if it's a great story, they're being so cautious, afraid to offend anybody, that they have no fun in telling the story, and they don't differentiate themselves. You also have to look for ways to maximize your visibility. Online, we've already talked about that. SEO, social media. But we want to talk about it in the real world as well. What am I doing to be really visible in my community, in professional organizations, in civic organizations, in church groups? What am I doing so that people see our company everywhere, or at least they have the perception they see us everywhere? And then when we do that, how are we conveying our company culture? Do we really look like an organization that's fun, that if I was a job seeker, I'd want to work for? Or do we look the same as other staffing companies, or even worse, do they look more fun than us? You have to be a best place to work, not just for temps, but a best place to work for any company in your community. And the advantage you have is not only are you an employer who can be a best place to work, but you also are a talent agent, and we're going to talk about that concept more in a bit, who can help people find the absolute best companies for their career interests. And you want that to be part of the culture you convey. And then, as I mentioned already, you've got to control that online reputation. You need to have at least 3 stars or higher than, for every additional star you get over 3, it dramatically increases the number of people who will apply. But below 3, it's like falling off a cliff for the number of people who apply. So go check yourself. Type your company name into Google and then the word reviews. Go to Glassdoor and check it out. Go to Indeed and check it out. Go to Facebook and check it out. If you're not 3+ stars everywhere, contact us. Let us help. But you need a proactive strategy for reputation management. Win awards. This is great for your brand. Whether you compete in Innovero's Best of Staffing or you do something, Staffing Industry Analyst right now has their competition for best staffing companies to work for. That's going on right now. Get involved trying to win awards. Be a best place to work in your local community. Be really involved in those civic and professional and social organizations so that when you send people out, they're branded to you. Think about even branding your temps. So when you send them out, they're branded to you by giving them apparel or a lunchbox or work shoes, something that shows that they're part of your organization and you're active everywhere in the community, even though you don't really have to be everywhere in the community. Some examples on screen here: sponsoring minor league or community sports. Usually it's not that expensive to do it, and you get great visibility. PSG Staffing in Boston, that's a bus we wrapped for them, but they also do taxi toppers. So ways to stand out, that people see your brand everywhere in the community, because the more people see you, the more it builds trust. It builds familiarity. And then they're like, well, I want to go check out this company because I've heard about them. And there was a frightening stat at ASA about the percentage of candidates who couldn't name a single staffing company. And I don't remember the exact number, but it was, of all job seekers, it was more than half. And of even people working as temps, a large percentage couldn't even name the company they worked for. And if you asked them to name a second staffing company, it was more than 75% couldn't name a second staffing company because we don't have local visibility. We don't have strong local employment brands. Getting involved in local advertising. Sometimes it's really cheap to advertise locally. I have a friend who does short format TV commercials, those little insertions you see that are 15 seconds or less, where they sell remnant time. Those can be really cost effective. And while we don't do those kinds of TV or radio, you can find people in your community who specialize in that short format TV. Great way to strengthen your brand and just talk about the fact, hey, we have 150 job openings. Check out www.abcstaffing.com or jobs.abcstaffing.com. The reputation management is a combination of online reviews and testimonials, and then how you leverage them. You want to make sure that you are getting them consistently so you have timely reviews. They're not all things from 3 years ago. You want to have software that drives your process so it's automated to do follow-up with every candidate, and that you get feedback as soon as possible, and then when it's positive feedback, it's automatically updating your website, and then you turn it into graphics that you share on social media. And then the question just popped up that I knew was coming. What do you do about the negative reviews, especially the one-sided one, or the person who just goes on a tirade about what an awful, horrible recruiter you are, the fact that they're an ex-felon who hasn't worked in 10 years and couldn't hold a job for more than a week has nothing to do with it? Well, with negative reviews, there's a couple of strategies. If the negative review is not full of 4-letter words, I recommend addressing it. Our team recommends addressing it. If you made a mistake, own up to it. Hey, we failed you. I'm sorry. Here's what we'd like to do. If it's a service process that you fixed, thank you for pointing that out. That is a weakness that we've had. We've done some things to address it. We'd love to talk with you more offline. Contact us. If it's because the person was unplaceable, you can certainly say, hey, there were some specific issues. I don't think social media is the appropriate place for us to discuss them, but we'd love to talk to you about what you can do for us to help you get placed. So you don't want to just ignore it. That looks bad. You don't want to just delete it, because then they'll come back again. You might want to address it. Now, if you get someone who's just obscene or relentless, you can block them, but a lot of the reviews you can't get rid of. The best strategy is to bury the negative with positive by going after the people who love you, the people you place and pay every week, people that you found full-time jobs, and get them to leave reviews by simply implementing a process to ask for them. The picture you see on screen that shows 592 4.8 stars average reviews is a recruiting company that when they started doing proactive reputation management had a whopping total of 2 reviews, both 1 star. Now they have dozens of reviews on review sites and 592 testimonials on their website from candidates about how amazing they are as recruiters. So you want to have a strategy for how to address the negative as well as how to build the positive. PR, press releases. Think about ways to create newsworthy events. Another great and free way to get your name out there. Things like, hey, we're attending or we're putting on a job fair. We've won awards. We're opening a new office. We've made this major new hire. We've got a success story, people you're putting to work. Maybe you took somebody from unemployment back to work, or you placed somebody who became the CEO of an organization. Find all your success stories. Tell those stories in press releases because they'll get picked up by local news authorities who are looking for good news to write about, and it's free. And then the community service activities that you're doing are also things to write about. And some people they don't really want to toot their own horn. They do community service because they believe in doing things for charity. They're philanthropic, and that's the right reason to do it. But you should still tell the story because a lot of people want to work for companies with a purpose, with a mission. And if you don't tell the story about what you're doing, they don't know. So whether it's through press releases or blog posts, you want to be telling those stories on your website and through PR services, whether you build relationships with the local newspapers or we use a service called PR Web to do distribution of press releases that can get you national, regional coverage with news media outlets of your press releases. Did have a question about reputation management just come in. Can you offer bonuses or incentives for applicants to write reviews? If you get caught doing that, you will be penalized. All of the review sites say, no, you cannot do that. That stated, I know of some staffing companies that do monthly bonuses saying, hey, we go for all of our reviews and we draw a prize every month. And it's usually something fairly nice. And one person wins it who's left us a review. Usually people who like you don't have to be bribed. And so officially by the review sites, you cannot. But I will tell you that I've seen staffing companies do it. Just if you do try that strategy, understand there is a risk you could get shut down by the review sites. Another thing is you don't want a lot of reviews flooding into any review site all at once. The review sites will all catch that, assume the reviews are fake, and take them down. One of the things I really like that few staffing companies do is to think about your temporary employees as brand ambassadors. You've got an amazing workforce of people out there every day who represent your company and may or may not be promoting your services. Now, you don't want them going on site to a client and directly recruiting everybody, but we want to find ways to turn them into influencers. So maybe on social media, we can encourage them to share our content. Maybe we can reward them with bonuses. This is a place you can use bonuses for brand ambassadors, or company swag, shirts and other fun promotional items that people would appreciate that you give people for being a brand ambassador. If you look at all the major corporate brands, they look to bloggers and Instagrammers with big followings, and they try to get those people to be brand ambassadors, and they offer them stuff in exchange for sharing the company content or mentioning the company in their brand. There is absolutely no reason you can't ask all of your temps, at least all the ones you like that are doing a good job, to be a brand ambassador. You may also, as I mentioned, give them branded apparel to wear to work. Show up to a work site with lunch or with a birthday cake when it's someone's birthday, and do more than your competitors do to make a big deal about your temps on site. That's creating visibility. That's turning your temps into a brand ambassador, even if their temps don't have to do anything. But if we can build relationships with our temps and get them to like our content, share our content, we can radically increase our social recruiting for little cost. All right, strategy 6, second to last, improving the candidate experience. So by and large, being a temp kind of stinks. So I don't work for the end client, really. I do work really for the staffing company, but I don't see anybody I work with, and I'm not part of their team. So I'm sort of this island that has no one. And so most often temps feel pretty disconnected. And what if we change our view? Instead of being people who recruit for clients, we become talent agents, the Jerry Maguires, helping our candidates find the money they're looking for. Can we go from order taker, which most of us are right now because our clients have so many demands, who then goes to recruit to order, to a talent agent who proactively tries to solicit the same types of people to represent, and then does more than anybody else to understand those candidates and what they're interested in and find them the right jobs. My friend Scott Wintrip talks about something he calls zero time to fill. And in Scott's training, he teaches staffing companies how to focus on their core jobs, which are usually 3 to 5 jobs they're the best at the world at filling, and to get so good at recruiting that they always have a stable database of people who are willing to go to new assignments, who are looking for work in those core skill disciplines. And they are talent agents for the people in those core disciplines, helping those people to find the best work assignments. So when a client calls with a need, instantly, they've got a candidate to fill the job order. Now, Scott says about 60% of your business should be in those 3 to 5 core skills. And then the balance would be in secondary and tertiary jobs that you fill occasionally or really sporadically. Doesn't mean you say no to clients when they want something else. It just means you focused where you're best. And this talent agent concept is a way to differentiate, and then you start to become known in a talent community as the best staffing firm. I've seen companies do this with, an example, paralegals, or legal secretaries, where they're so good at those legal support people that they will dominate the market as being the best place to go for a job if you're in that skill discipline. And you want to do that in the skill disciplines you represent. Also, can I create zero time to fill with some way of skill marketing, whether it's done by people on the telephone, whether it's done with a tool like the Talent Showcase. And this is one that's from Haley Marketing Group, so apologize for the direct plug, but it's a way to transition top talent to more rapid placement, because I can take and skill market people through email, through my website, through the telephone, so that I'm helping candidates get placed faster. But the other thing that it does for you isn't just about marketing people to employers. It's about showing candidates, if you work with us, we'll do more to help you find the job you want, because we showcase our best talent and make them available to people to hire, or proactively help people who are coming off assignment to get hired faster. That's a recruiting advantage, showing we do more for the candidate than anybody else. And the more you can show you service the candidate, the more they're going to want to work with you. Which comes to the last set of tools, and none of these are ours, but there are lots of really good products out there to help you improve communication and avoid the black hole the staffing industry is known for. That black hole is candidate submits a resume and nothing happens. No feedback. They never get invited in for an interview. They just never hear anything, and they get really frustrated. And then they go onto those social review sites and they talk about what a lousy company you are. So we can use tools like Sense and Hearfish. Those are tools that allow you to create service process automation. So that's where you're thinking about all the touch points you'd have with the candidate, and through email and text, automating the touches. Those are 2 really cool companies. The only thing I don't like about them is they both thought of the idea before I did, because I love both of their software products. And it's a great way to try to improve engagement, to make the candidates feel that you care about them, that you're interested in them, that you want their feedback, without killing your recruiters with calls and emails and texts they have to send. And then you can use chatbots and live chat to supplement it. So Olivia by Paradox is a live chat that's an automated chat that's artificial intelligence based, that is designed to do pre-screening and scheduling candidates for interviews. Flash Recruit is live chat based. There is a chatbot backup that actually, as a candidate is looking at your jobs, it will put them in touch with the recruiter who's working on that job if they have a question about the job. And Flash Recruit is seeing a dramatic increase in candidate engagement and reduction in application abandonment by having that chat now capability integrated with the job search. Finally, our last strategy. If none of these other ideas work, or in addition to all these other ideas, just get more creative. So a couple of off-the-wall ideas that I had for today's presentation. What if you developed a career portal for specific clients? So we've seen a job board a few times. And what if you went to your clients, and if they don't have a career site, you offer to give them one, maybe even for free. And you let the clients post jobs on their own too. And you don't even charge them if a candidate goes back to them because they posted it. But you post all their temporary jobs there. And it becomes a site for ABC Manufacturing's temp jobs. And now you can market that site as a premier site for people who want to work at that company, but all the temp jobs, the candidates all come back to you. And now you can co-market the site, the jobs with your client. Sure, it tells the competitor who you're working with, but now you have a deeper relationship with that client because you own their temporary career site. And it's going to be harder for them to get rid of it once you've installed it, once you're working with them. You've got the leg up on all of their temporary jobs. Now, not every client's going to like that. They may have a career site they already have. They don't want yours. But most of them don't have a site just for their temp jobs. And if it would enhance their ability to find people because they're co-marketing with you, they may be very interested in it, because right now when you can't fill a job order, your company suffers, but your client suffers too. And another thing that is potential, and I don't know if this would work or not, but if the career site is actually under your client's name, it's no longer just a staffing company. So you may find your jobs get on more other third-party sites who may not want traditional staffing jobs. And then what if you switched your role from being a staffing vendor to a higher level solution provider? And one idea we're sharing is think about becoming a talent acquisition partner, so that the core of what you're doing is still staffing and recruiting, but you're now moving up the value chain to find stronger ways to partner with your clients and say, look, we're experts at talent acquisition. This is all we do every single day of the week. We do it. In fact, a lot of you do it 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You are finding ways to find, attract, engage, and retain talent. And so maybe through this partnership, you could say, we're going to help you on all of your recruiting. I mentioned the career site. That's one of the ways you could help them. How about job advertising? Let's say you get really good at the programmatic. Maybe you could manage it for your clients and help them get better response from their job advertising, that they're not going to, because they're not going to send every job through you. But if you are helping manage their job advertising, you now know every job they have. And maybe you can work with them on running social recruiting programs and how they execute on social media, helping them to create a stronger employer brand, help them to better promote their company through all of the social channels. So the idea is here, we're getting to work with clients in a more proactive way to do workforce planning. We're providing higher level, more consultative solutions, and we're expanding the range of services that you can provide to your clients. And in this case, the self-serving one here is, if people are interested in this concept, we're absolutely interested in partnering with staffing companies to bring this model to companies. But you don't need us. You can think about all the ways you can move up the value chain to provide higher level solutions to your clients, so you're not seen as just staffing and recruiting. But the goal is, by being at a higher level, you get earlier access to the job orders, because the more lead time you have, the more likely it is you can find the candidates they need. And that brings us to the end. What's next? Well, really, it's going to be up to you. You've got between now and January 7th to begin to put these ideas into action. I've got a couple more resources to help you out before we wrap up today's call. The first is, if you have not already downloaded our Smart Recruiting Checklist, we put together this guide a few months ago. There's 190 some odd questions to help you evaluate all aspects of your recruitment marketing. It's free. You can get it by going to haleymarketing.com/smartrecruiting. And I know a lot of people on today's webinar probably already got our Indeed Mageddon ebook. But if you have not already downloaded it, or you need to get a copy, you can also get it from our website. It's at haleymarketing.com/Indeed. And all of the ideas we talked about today were also covered in this 38-page ebook. Well, thank you for those who have made it to the very end. I'm really impressed with the large number of people who have stayed start to finish. Thank you again. If there are questions, I will stay on the line and continue to answer them. If you need to get a hold of us because you need to talk about something, I know this Indeed thing's a big deal. And we are more than happy to brainstorm strategies. So give us a call, 888-696-2900. Shoot an email to our team, info@haleymarketing.com. We're more than happy to consult with you and work on strategies to help you with your recruiting.